30, and we have a quorum. I will call the
I've got the green cards.
meeting for the Conservation Commission for October 20th open. I will entertain a motion to approve minutes for the 15th of September and 6th and 8th of October.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have a new public hearing to open. And I will read that into the record so everybody knows. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law is amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw, Rules and Regulations, the West Bridgewater Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing the 20th of October 2015 in the Town Hall Conference Room, 65 North Main Street, for a notice of intent filed by Silva Engineering Associates on behalf of Joseph Shanahan Clean Energy Collective to construct a solar farm within the BVW at 286 Manley Street. We're open. I have green cards. Good evening.
I'm Larry Silva from Silva Engineering Associates.
Larry.
Mr. Shanahan is with me this evening also.
Evening.
And so I believe that you may be familiar with this site. I think it may have come before you. They started for a different project and didn't go, obviously, to fruition. But this is up on Manley Street at the Brockton line. We're looking on the westerly side of Manley Street. So Route 24 here going north, Manley Street going north, just before it becomes Liberty Street on the left-hand side. This is the property here. Okay, it's, and the Cowesett Brook is to the far end, far western side of it, and then as you go further,
So this one's completely different from what's up on West Street off of West on, what's in the property there?
Yeah, totally different
Yeah,
proposal.
that's
Yeah,
nothing,
that's
yeah,
nothing to do with
yeah,
that.
no.
Alright.
I guess I'm not familiar with
No, we have another one in
There's a
town
couple,
before
yeah.
us as well.
Oh, okay. Existing conditions. Here again, so here's Manley Street, North Arrow, this way, over to the right. And as you can see in here, we have conditions depicted in here, full topography, and the ditch that runs through here. And I think that ditch may have been a discussion in the past about whether or not it was a protectable resource or not. What we've done here is we're showing you that there are two parts of this project, okay? One which we're calling in here is the northern array, okay, and this one over here is we're calling the southern array. All right, so there's two layouts which I will show you, and both have access separately from Manley Street, and then between them there is an existing path over here, just to let you know that there is like a farm road or path that actually does go across in this area here that technically does connect the two in that area.
Now, is this up where, the property, the industrial where the horses are and all that stuff are?
The horses are.
It's the last property before you hit Brockton, right?
That's correct.
On the left.
Just go a little bit further into the post office.
The post
Right.
office is here
Right.
for Brockton.
Okay, it's all in the.
The trailer company, Boston Trailer,
Yeah.
is
It's on
over on
across
the
the
other
street.
side. This is
Right.
across the street from that.
Up where, okay, yeah, it is up by there then.
And so as far as, so now, so I've shown you that that's the northern array and the southern array. I think I'm gonna break them down separately. So for the northern array, this is the layout that's proposed. We're showing, we're maintaining a 50-foot separation around it, two wetlands, in some cases it's 65, 58, 74 in that area there. Access to the site itself would be from Manley Street coming down. There is a section in here where we would be crossing it for the gravel drive to access in there. So we're showing a filling in there, and then we do show a replication, and we've submitted a replication plan. And so the gravel driveway access is in here. Transformer pads would be in this area here. Basically the arrays would just be running parallel to each other with just about 11-foot spacing between them. And as you know, that once they're, and you've seen from the ones like the one we did, we've done two. We did the one up there at the driving range, and then the one down near the Bridgewater line. They're pretty passive. I mean, once they're up, and there's really not much going on after that. And so,
These are planned to have grass underneath?
yep, as far as underneath, it would be just a grass underneath there.
What's gonna be put into the ground to hold them up?
They're a post and a driven
Post or PVC?
post.
Post. Wooden
Yeah.
post?
No, they
Steel?
would be steel.
Steel.
Steel posts driven in, and, so for a while it's being done, you'd probably hear around it, you'll hear it driving, and then, once it's done. But the nice thing about it is that, it's very little disruption when it occurs.
How far do you have to go down the post?
Basically down to the frost line.
Yeah, it depends. We do a pull test, but it's usually down 6 to 8 feet.
Yeah.
Depending on the location.
They basically gotta make sure they have enough resistance so that, the wind and so forth doesn't move. So that's the layout here that's being proposed for this location here. Around it, so as far as the activity, when it's up, there's really not gonna be anything going on, so that buffer zone is really protected at that point. And during construction, as you can see, the siltation control would be along that whole area.
Now, like I said before with a few other ones, all the panels here, if something has to be included because of wetland or any kind of getting in too close to the 50-foot, is there any problem of taking a few panels off, or is this basically what you have to have?
Well, we've already defined those wetlands, and we've laid it out so
Just
that we're
asking that
not going
question.
closer than 50.
Okay, but I'm just asking, this is basically it right here, right?
We believe that this
panels.
is a layout that conforms to having
Okay,
enough separation with the fencing and so forth.
okay.
And so what we have, when you ask that question, in most cases, we have the fencing, then we have sort of an aisle on the ends anyway, so it's not like the panel's right up against 50, at any rate. And there's not really any location where that occurs. Now, that's this array, and then for the other one, which is the southern one, doesn't need a crossing in order to get to it. It has access also from Manley, comes in, and this one here, because of its proximity to the street, there will be a 6 to 8 foot high arborvitae row for here to take visibility away. The other one has a treed area, so you really don't need that. And basically the layout here is pretty self-explanatory with the fencing around it. Now, the one thing I should go back to is in that original, and I want to say this to you, is that the proposal for the power from here to the other side is proposed to be overhead. Now, there is a requirement, that sort of suggests that we're supposed to be going underground. So we're asking for, for a plan that would allow it to go this way. Our hopes would be that the planning board doesn't try to insist that it go a different way. Because, to go underground in this case means, to have to cross the wetlands and so forth. I can't imagine in this situation that they would force it. Also, it's so far back off the road, it really isn't like it's an eyesore or anything like that. It has no real consequence to have it go overhead. So that's the way we show it this way. And so we don't expect that there would be any change to that. On this same sheet, the answer to your question, Lee, is you can see an illustration of the kind of the way that these are punched in. Okay, you can see that in that illustration over there. And if I go back, and there's a fence detail down there also, but if I go back to that, that existing condition was that I showed you, it also had an illustration on there of where trees are being removed as part of that. So a large portion of the areas we're talking about don't really need to do that, because it's mostly just field to begin with. It's only in these other areas where I show the green, where those have to be trimmed out in order to be able to put them in. Okay, so for the most part, these are already just field areas. And the nice thing about it, from a topography point of view, there's no need to change grades, to change, you know, what's happening just for your access, and that's minor in nature. But for where they're located, how far you push in the post and where you leave the top of it is really, you make them level by how far you leave them above ground. So underneath, the ground could be going up and down, but where the panels are, the panels would be on the same plane. And pretty much that's, you know, that's the overview of what's being proposed. There was a, where we show the actual crossing, we show that there's a fill area, and we didn't really show you too much in terms of what would be the method in which this would be actually constructed. I do have with me a couple of basically, one option would be is to basically dig out in that area and put in basically a stone or something very porous to allow water to go across. Put a fabric over the top and then put a 8-inch gravel driveway above that. Okay, the other way would be to actually run a pipe across and to do that. I don't know if I have both of those with me. And if there is a preference by the commission as to which way they would prefer it to be, we're fine with that. It's not that there needs to be a major connection between those two areas, but in order to not disrupt, you know, Mother Nature and so forth, it would be good to make sure that water can still go across. I think the easiest way is to excavate down 12 to 18 inches, and then put back in like a trap rock or something that would allow for the water to filter through there. And then just basically above that, put in like a fabric above that, and then just put the gravel above that. And so that you have the gravel road, but you still have continuity of the water passing underneath it, without having to be, if you put it in a pipe, then we get into a maintenance issue of whether or not the entrance to that pipe stays clean over time. Where if it's stone, you got a much broader base to be able to have water filter through in different paths going across.
Is the path pretty much clear?
That path there is pretty much, well, as you can see, the areas that we're showing green,
Yeah.
those are treed.
So, I mean, tree as in tall trees, or?
Well, it's a mix. I mean, you got a little bit of both, you know. But it's not a large area in terms
So
of
when
clearing.
you-
When you look at site clearing
So
and
when you
other
clear
projects.
that out, you're gonna have to take all the stumps and everything
Stumps have
out.
to come out, right.
So you're gonna be disturbing it anyways, all that,
We're
that
gonna be
whole,
dis-
that whole
Along that
stretch.
stretch, but where the crossing is made, we're saying is that we would go 12 to 18, take that out, and put in material that would definitely make a hydraulic connection between.
How far down do you think the roots are?
I'm saying that for wetlands, we're really talking like going down the 18 inches.
How far do you think the roots are down?
Well, the roots may go down more. If the roots go down more, then we obviously have more of an area to fill. Okay, but if not, then it's just really the 18 inches. For
That's-
continuity of the water going across, that first 12 to 18 is really where the water's traveling.
No, I understand that, but you're gonna be taking out roots and everything like that, so you're gonna be disturbing everything, that whole area there.
Just on that strip coming in.
Well, I understand that, but you're gonna have to dig down there anyways.
Right, so it's gonna be disturbed
It's gonna
anyway,
be
so
disturbed the whole
going-
time,
For that area, for the gravel drive.
Right.
the whole
For the
area,
gravel drive,
yeah.
right. And like I said, and so it's mostly for the construction part of it. After that, it's very infrequent in terms of travel for vehicles going in to deal with anything with the, you know, how often
We
4
4
to
to 6 times a year to be a pickup truck going in for inspections and minor repairs. That's
Yeah,
it.
so there's really not a lot of activity once it's,
So then you're
once
gonna
it's in place.
be, what are you gonna be putting around the edge for, like, you're gonna put silt fence?
Yeah, I think,
bales
I think
and
we had,
stuff?
either wattles or silt fence would be what we would prefer to put on there.
This doesn't have any ACEC or natural heritage requirements or anything like that. Because you're putting a fence around the entire perimeter?
Around the perimeter of the panels, yes.
You leaving it right to the ground, or are you leaving it?
Now, we usually go 6 inches above ground.
Above ground?
So that if there's
Okay.
any wildlife that wants to
Okay, that
pass
was-
through.
My question before we, okay.
You ever have vandalism issues?
Actually, believe it or not, never. It's not an attractive nuisance. We've got a 7-foot chain. Well,
Yeah.
that's the lawyer in me. I mean, it's a 7-foot chain link fence with a locked gate.
Yeah.
It's not easily accessed, and it's not the kind of thing kids would look at and say, boy, would we like to be in there.
Doesn't make a good skateboard park.
I will say, the worst case of vandalism occurred in the most visible site there was, and you know where that was? On Route 44, going from Carver to Plymouth. Did you ever see
Oh,
them
yeah.
along the road there?
They
Yeah.
took 'em off.
When they
took
first
'em
were
off.
there, the first week they were there, somebody stole them.
And they had to put the fence around it.
Then they put the fence around.
Yeah.
Somebody stole the panels, right in
Sell
broad,
them.
I mean, not broad daylight,
Right,
but
but
right on
it-
that highly visible road.
Mm.
Boy, that was kind of
How
unbelievable.
many?
Now, is it
Wow.
gonna be,
I think they took quite a few, didn't they?
yeah, then they put up the lights after that. Now, is this gonna be kind of lit up at night, or
No.
just?
Not really, no.
No,
Unless
it's just
the
gonna
planning
be,
board requires it, and they usually discourage it, so.
Yeah.
okay.
Pretty passive, yeah.
How
Now,
much
we
energy
have-
are you gonna be?
We have one in
producing?
Bridgewater that we did on Curve Street, but that's pretty remote. In the back on Curve Street, heading down between there and the Taunton River. And I think that we were concerned about maybe vandalism on that one, but, I mean, so far they haven't had issues, but, because that one's like behind, you know, you go a ways before you get to it, but there are houses out near the road, you know. Here, this is a little bit more remote because there's really not a lot of people around in this area in the evening, which is it's a blessing in both ways.
Mhm.
So, there's nobody looking for a place to hang around either. you know.
How much energy are you producing?
1 megawatt.
Total out of the whole area, north and south.
Per array, I'm sorry.
And this is when the town adopted their bylaws, this became the zone in which it's allowed as a matter of right, as opposed to before it was unclear, and, you know, so there were some that I actually proposed that were in a business zone before, and one that I proposed in the, if you remember, in the residential zone
Yeah.
on East Street
Yeah.
became
Oh,
a hot topic as far as, that's what kind of prompted sort of developing a sort of a plan as to where they wanted them to be.
right.
They didn't want them there.
All right, anybody have any other questions?
None.
Because I do have John's comments, and he's suggesting we continue it so he has time to review it, because he really hasn't been able to. And his other comment was, and I didn't notice, that the wetland delineation fee.
Yeah, can we talk about that? Yes, you know,
What can you give it back for electricity towards this town? Put it towards the school.
you know,
Actually,
when,
we can do that, by the way.
You can do that, I know.
20%.
as a friendly conversation, Tim, before
Would that be
we get
something
down
you'd
to
wanna do?
the business part of it. When the state created, you know, this whole thing with the fees and everything else, and the different kinds of process that you can go through, an ANRAD was a separate process than an NOI. And an ANRAD was if somebody wanted to determine where their resource area was and have that evaluated solely on that.
But that was
with-
state, this is the town.
Okay. And then, and so if you chose to go NOI route, you paid fees based on that, or if you chose to go ANRAD and then NOI, you paid both because you obviously would do 2 different steps. So when you guys look to have ANRAD paid for and NOI It just seems like you're double dipping. No, that's the end of the friendly file.
You want the project done, right?
So what I'm saying is, I guess at a minimum, I would think that the commission should look at it is that do you wanna be reimbursed for one or the other, whatever one's the most? But I mean, when you ask for both, is that, I don't know, is it asking for, and I know the wetland line could be 50 feet or it could be a lot. In this case here, it's a lot. It's a long length, and you've already looked at this wetland line. So do we get any credits for the fact that you guys looked at wetlands on this site before? Probably not, right?
I haven't.
So have you capped, and the state, when they, even when the state has ANRADs, they put a cap on the length. You know, to not be excessive, and here we don't have a cap in your bylaw. It just keeps going and going and going. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have a lot.
No, you have thoughts on that, Lee. What is it?
Well, just like I said to him,
That it's in the bylaw?
no, what about giving back so much towards,
Well,
Well, the town actually
a
buys
couple of
electricity.
things,
Yeah.
just so you're aware
Yeah.
of it, because I don't want you to think this is a one-way street.
no,
One of the things our company does voluntarily, it's not required, it's not in your bylaw, it's, can't be in your bylaw.
yeah,
But these projects are personal property. They're not taxed like a Walgreens or a Dunkin' Donuts.
yep,
So we could come in, we could do this project and just say, thank you very much, and pay the personal property tax every year. We voluntarily will go to your assessors and your selectmen, we'll do a pilot program, which is payment in lieu of taxes. And we'll end up coming to an agreed upon amount with your assessors and selectmen, and we will guarantee that annual check for the 25 years of our lease. So there is a substantial guaranteed amount of money that we're voluntarily paying into the town
yep,
to start with. The second aspect of that is, we will in fact contact your municipal officials and ask if they want to participate in, we're a community-owned program. We're not a privately governed. So what we do is we actually sell shares in our production to the residents in the community, the commercial operations, and the municipal. And it's, if I can give you the analogy, it's, if you're familiar at all with like a food co-op, people want fresh vegetables, but they don't have room in their backyard to grow a garden. So people pool together and they buy down the street and they get a discount and they bring them home. Same thing, you don't want solar panels on your roof, or you don't have southerly exposure to have solar panels on your roof. So you come to our solar co-op and you sign up. You don't pay for it, you just sign up and you get anywhere between a 10 and 15% discount on your electric bill. So the town will have that opportunity, whether it be the school system, the water department, the fire department, police department, or all of them together, that opportunity is out there also. So I mean, we're not coming here looking for a discount and avoiding the other financial implications. We do those things voluntarily. But to be candid with you, I've got 42 projects going on all over Massachusetts right now.
yeah.
This is the first time I've been hit with a double hit without a cap. And, you know, if I had 150 linear feet of wetland line, I wouldn't blink an eye at it. But we got a lot of wetland line here. And to pay the notice of intent fee and get hit with the linear footage when we're in fact not doing an ANRAD, I'm not gonna plead poverty, but we'd appreciate some compromise with it, however arbitrary it might be. Whether you drop out the NOI fee, whether you say it's ANRAD plus half of something, but some concession to the fact that it is hitting us with 2 feet.
Or some annual fee cap, if you've done it before, I don't know if you've done it before. Have you
I
done
don't
any
remember
cap
us
before?
doing it before, but I do know we have taken into consideration
Yeah, we have,
other options or benefits that a project or site gives to the town, whether it's an easement or an access point or other things that we've looked into. And this is a project that is beneficial. I'd rather see this than a power generated plant. for
I mean,
electricity.
the long-term impacts to the resource areas is actually, this protects the resource areas a lot more than what the other kinds of projects that come before you.
And we have cut the fee in half on certain things before because of certain other reasons. So it's not like,
Yeah, it's not like we'd be setting a new precedent for
Yeah.
looking
I
at,
should say.
As long as we have the option to do it. I believe.
yeah. Do you know how much linear feet are in this?
Well,
I don't know, Mike.
Maybe just know whether you had that off the top of your head. If not, we can
well,
figure it out.
after we
just to
saw
see- I
John's
mean-
comment, we kinda went back and kinda looked, and where we're looking at is the areas that we are adjacent to.
Right.
That's on, that's one side of it, right? I have that there. Do I have the whole site? I have the whole site in there, no or not? No? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah, because you've got
that's
the
other
back
one
side, yeah, and it comes up to
Yeah,
ends in there.
5,841 linear feet.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, you know what I mean? I look at that, and go, oh my gosh. You know, at least when you were looking at it from a state point of view and you see a cap, a 2,000, to the 2,000-foot cap, you go, oh.
It's
At
a
least
lot
you know
of,
it
it's a
can't get-
lot of linear feet when you can measure it in miles, that's.
There you go, it's over a mile.
Talk about it.
It's something we
Yeah,
can
I
talk
think
about,
I'd
we'll
wanna
figure out,
consider it, yeah.
and we'll,
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah, I won't ask for a check tonight. We'll come up with something and.
Do you face these same bylaw considerations in the other towns, or you?
What he's saying is that all the ones he's been doing, he hasn't come where you had, you know, with either no cap on that.
Oh, okay.
Or having both NOI and
Really?
rather
Is
than
it because
NOI.
do they drop one and do the other?
They all
or-
handle them differently,
Well,
Joe?
Oh,
they're
they
all
just don't
handled
have it.
differently. I have seen double fees, but when I've seen a double fee, the cap is usually like 2,000 or 2,500 linear feet.
Right.
And anything else. Because a lot of the towns look at that fee to pay for their consultant and some of their admin charges.
Right,
And
right.
it's, if your consultant's gonna be $1,800, it's a little tough to charge someone $5,600 to justify it, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
balance it.
I know as long as I've been on this board, I haven't come up against this, so
Yeah.
usually, that's a long run.
And I
That's a
think
long
that-
run, and it's one project, not like a subdivision where you've got
I
parcels.
think, and I
and-
can't say for certain, but doesn't the statute say that you can impose fees that cover the costs associated with what you're doing? In other words, that when you, I don't know the exact wording of it, but that the fees have to be related to, the level of effort. I mean, it's not that you're in the for-profit business, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Well, I think we should, we'll,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have a feeling why the town bylaw was set up and what the purpose of that was, and I
You
don't
must have an
want
accountant on there. Is there an accountant that used to be in one of the seats? No?
No.
to, it's,
The guy that used to live next to Good Days, was he an accountant? Who was that? You know who I'm talking about, right? Down the street there, with the power line there. Down, you know what I mean?
I think I do.
Yeah. I thought he was an accountant, that's why I said that.
I don't, oh, Rick.
Rick, yes.
No, he's not.
No, he wasn't?
No.
now you still have
Like
planning
my
board to
dad,
go
though.
before?
You'll go to the planning board on, November, 2nd? Fourth? November 4th. They were gonna do it earlier, but they had to allow a certain number of days before they could actually, do it, so the way it fell, that they had to move it to that meeting.
I mean, we could continue this to the November 3rd, if you think, I don't know whether the planning board's gonna want any major changes, and if there are, will they affect how the plans are gonna end up being?
Yeah.
I don't wanna have you have to come back on the 3rd, if you haven't met with the planning board, and then have them make major changes. If,
Come back again.
never
and
know.
then have to come back again 2 weeks later, or whether we just wait and go to the second meeting in November.
We'd be happy to do that if we might be able to get the comments in the interim, so we
Yep,
can
yeah,
address
as soon
them
as-
and look at that.
John starts looking through it, anything he has,
And maybe that.
And work
number-
through the
and that
comment.
number in the meantime also. That'd be great.
The only thing I'll say to you is if you go to the second meeting, which would be when?
that would
The
be
16th or the 17th?
Of
16.
Is
November.
that what it would be, the 16th or 17th?
I can't really tell because it just looks like chicken marks over there on that calendar.
17th.
Well, I didn't see my calendar, you would have seen it clearer.
We had one
Yeah.
for the silver engineering last year that didn't have anything for the whole month of October. It was left off.
Well, we're not supposed to meet that month.
Okay, I just gotta make sure that, I know that, I may have to, if it's not me, it'll have to be Rebecca then, if that turns out. Cause I have on the, so 16th, 17th looks like it's still open. 16th I have something. Yeah, I mean, so the 17th you're saying?
If we put it on for the 17th, hopefully by then the planning board will have met. If there are any changes they have, John can have them by then, and we can address them all before the 17th and maybe have it all
Yeah.
finished
done.
for,
Okay. So that,
if that
that
would-
would be better than coming back before one we get those
I agree,
comments.
as long as we get the comment.
right, and that way there, if something has to be changed from our end before then,
Yeah.
when you meet with the planning board, it can all be maybe more or less wrapped up, at least from our end, for the comment part of it.
So, one of the things that I would ask, seeing as John's not here, is that will, part of your direction to him, would it be to provide, comments as to how he might prefer that crossing?
Yeah, what he-
detail to be, so
yeah.
that I can make sure that it's correct on, when I come back?
Yep. Like you said, I'm not sure how the planning board's gonna feel about that crossing with the over or under, whether they decide and wanna see you go underground with that, and then
Yeah.
have to disturb that area and
Well, we'll have
have to
that
put that
resolved.
back on the plan. I mean,
May I
Yep.
ask how this commission would feel, so I don't get caught in that crossfire?
I'd rather have it up.
I prefer to have it up, but,
But the bylaw says it has to be down. If they tell
Right,
us
and
it
they
has
don't
to
wanna-
be underground.
right, if they don't wanna,
can
I
you live
mean,
with it?
you can deal with
Yeah, but
a
if they say
temporary.
we have to do it that way, then you don't have a problem with us complying with it.
No, I mean, it's just gonna be a little bit more
Yep.
engineering and
Yeah,
design
yeah,
work.
Thank
and-
you.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it'll have to
if
be-
they're not gonna grant you the waiver or the variance to go that route, then to meet the requirement, we're not gonna get in a fighting match to.
Not over that.
What, and, so your continuations, we don't know what time they'll be, it depends if you get new.
Everything's at 6:30.
6:30, and at this point, it should be pretty close to first stop.
Yeah, it could be first.
Yeah, you could be right at 6:30, it could be at
Have you ever
6:45.
been first before?
No, that would be an honor, thank you very much. Twice in a row be first, wow. That's remarkable. That would be great, okay, so that's.
Larry, you
we'll
told me
meet
it
on
was
doing that
because
one.
it was you, not you.
No, they've always treated me very well, though, very nicely, very friendly.
We need a motion.
So that being said, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until November 17th.
I'll make
Motion to
that.
continue.
Moved, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be in touch with John, and John will be in touch with you, and we'll
Thank you very much.
move this along.
All right, thank you.
See you later.
The next one, had a request for it to be continued, and John said to continue.
Yeah.
Car wash one again.
Yep, I will entertain a motion that we continue the 265 East Center Street, the car wash oil change service station to the 3rd of November?
I don't know what's in John's notes. It's in.
John said the 3rd, and if they had requested it.
All right, the
to-
3rd.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And we have the request for certificate of compliance for the 20 Harvestwood Drive single-family home with the upgrade.
Is that Peters?
No,
Not Peters, right?
there should be a form on
Yeah.
the bottom thing to sign. Yeah.
That was, just so puts it in. It is kinda like midway down,
Okay.
Clifford and North Main Street.
On this side.
Yep.
What's the name of
And
it?
it's all built, it's all in. And all the paperwork is here. And he just,
Grass growing.
yep,
I looked at, see Larry.
everything's in the engineer.
Is it because they sold the house or they just doing an upgrade?
No, I think they sold that.
Did they
Yeah,
sell it?
it's, so, they have recently sold the property,
Okay.
and the field system has been fully repaired. So, I'm sure they're looking for the certificate to finish the closing.
Came out good, actually, I thought
Yeah.
recently. Doesn't even look disturbed. That's
Yeah.
good.
That seems like anything,
Yeah.
certificate support of
Mm.
price means anything to the new owners,
Right.
cause they don't look,
Right,
they just go
exactly.
and do whatever they want.
It's amazing how many people that even sign upstairs in the office an
Mm.
affidavit and read everything right in front of us before they sign it, and then they have no recollection
Yeah.
that they're supposed to record it, or they're supposed to do, well, I
Mm.
never knew. You signed
read
it
it
right
and
here, right here.
So I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance without a bond.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'll go that way. That's where- And I think only other thing on our list is
Pearl Road.
it is Pearl Road, and John's notes are there for everybody to read. But we really have no action to take at this point, because he doesn't have all the report back from their engineer, their botanist.
What happened last meeting? Was anything discussed?
They came in, and what they were looking for was they'd hired a botanist to go out and reflag it,
Okay, to see, that was the
to
risk.
see if the
That was yeah.
right, and they were waiting for John to get the full report and see what his thoughts were, if they go the next process and have the line relooked at and open a public hearing and do a filing.
Okay.
What they'd like to do is have the line moved further back.
If
They would like it,
And
or they
Could
were
come the
hoping,
other
to-
way,
They were
but-
hope-
hoping to see that it was moved far
Well,
back.
no matter what happens, there'd have to be a public hearing for us to declare the new line moved further back.
And their
What if it
botanist,
came in?
Well, that's a risk they're willing to take if they
Well,
decide they.
the original wetland was right here. Their botanist had the new one
Yeah.
going way into the back of the property.
It was, yeah, it was
Yeah.
a big
Yeah, read
difference.
John's report.
Really?
Totally
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It was
And
very
it
weird, yeah.
Marked all the
Sounds a
different.
little,
The difference was significant,
Yeah.
and so that's why John was waiting for some
They
more
wanted
of her
to force
report.
It was probably
Wow.
at 50 foot, at least
Oh.
50 foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And hadn't that just been done like, what, 2 years or 3 years
Wow.
prior?
It had been within the last 3 or 4 years had
Yeah.
been done when that whole project got started, so it wasn't like it was a 20-year-old or
Right.
15-year-old line, it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's why we were questioning the difference.
And he was the first one to disturb it, right? I mean, take
Right,
the
yeah.
trees
it
down.
hadn't
within,
been.
well, within the summer, I mean,
Right,
Mm.
it-
within.
Interesting that it would change
we have a
that much.
motion
I
to
mean,
that?
right,
I
I
could
mean,
see
and that's what John
few
was kind of
feet, but,
explaining in his
Right.
report, that generally we don't see it,
do you
and
know
that's
who
what.
the botanist is?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, that's.
No
what
one
we
that
should
we
find
know,
out.
or?
No,
Michelle
she's
Grenier.
done
Was
work
it?
around, and, but it, I mean, I
Soil
believe Walter
samples?
was the original, and
Oh.
Walter's pretty
Good.
darn
He's
good when
good.
we,
Right.
when we get reports from him, so that's what questioned.
Soil samples?
that's what John went out and did
John,
some
yeah,
test
yeah.
pits
Should
and
be
stuff,
interesting,
and
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
waiting
that's
for
a
her
big
final
change.
report and all the information for us to be able to make a real decision.
Cause it could theoretically affect
Every house
Mhm.
up
Every
or
house.
down.
Not bad?
that-
Oh my god, yeah.
yeah.
You're gonna put in a couple more houses.
So,
With no backyards.
Sure.
I'll entertain a motion to continue discussion on the violation to our next meeting.
No, motion on that.
Second.
Move in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
So moved. I think that might be all we have, unless anybody has anything else. Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, did John, A1, did he say anything to you about that, how they wanted to clear Yeah, what affordable?
Yeah, out in the front.
Yeah,
And he talked to him and took a look at it, and the area that A1 Affordable wants to clean up in the front of their facility, it's actually designed as a retention, part of the
Yeah.
part of their drainage system.
yeah.
And so the maintenance program on it is to take the invasives and keep it clean.
Yeah.
And so they really need to do that as part of their maintenance
That's
program.
what he
so-
wanted to do.
And,
I told him I couldn't get in there with a machine.
right,
He
and
said
John,
he had a machine that could just kind
Right.
of cut down.
and
stuff.
John said they could, there was like a few red maples and stuff that they couldn't take out,
Yeah.
but everything else that was to get it to operate the way it's supposed to, they could clean out as part of the plan. So it wasn't really a hearing or anything, it was just a, hey, FYI, it's maintenance. So if anybody says something, that's
Yeah.
part of their drainage system, and that's why they're doing the maintenance on it.
Mhm.
So I have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We're done.